Hey there, Orlando Market Renegades. I hope you're well. There have been a swirl of news reports as of late coming out of places like Redfin, pointing to the fact that the Florida market has seen a massive drop in pendings right now. They're pointing to factors such as the hurricane that just recently came through, mounting HOA cost, the high cost of insurance, all of which are 100% factors in the amount of buyers moving forward into properties right now. But one thing I will have you know, and while I will cover that important headline and article on a different video, the article couldn't help but point to the fact that out of all the marketplaces, even including Miami, which was really far from the recent hurricanes, Orlando was above them all in terms of not seeing its pending volume stagger. And as interest rates took a momentary drop here in the most recent 45 days, buyers surged in and we're seeing market activity come back, especially beyond the market cycle. And I'm here today to really take a deep dive into the Minneola marketplace. Minneola is a small market no more. This was the little sleepy town next to Clermont, which itself has been long lauded as a sleepy town. But Minneola has been growing in popularity as it finds itself with a new exit off of Turnpike in the last couple of years and a monstrous amount of growth coming to the beautiful green hillsides of this beautiful area of Central Florida. Today, I'm going to take you down a brief side road to show you exactly what's being announced, the growth opportunities in this area coming to the market right now. And then we're going to jump into the data so that if you own a house here now, you're thinking of selling, or you're looking to buy one, you're going to have a tight pulse on the market to understand what's going to happen in the residential real estate market in Minneola as we go into 2025. Let's get started. First up, we're going to talk about Pointe Homes. They are going to build a beautiful community at Sugarloaf Mountain. This development is positioned in one of the highest points in Florida, offering scenic views and unique landscape. Now, their community will be called Pine Ridge and will feature 178 luxury lots, ranging in width from 45 to 65 feet. And when we're talking about new communities, this is one of many, but we also want to point out Stanley Homes just announced Whispering Winds, which will be another high-end featured community coming to the Sugarloaf Mountain area. And if you're not familiar, Sugarloaf Mountain looks like Pennsylvania transplanted some of its shorter foothills down here into Central Florida, one of the flattest states in the union, and it is a thing of beauty. People love cycling up the green hills there, getting out in nature. Yes, I know if you're from up north, you're probably saying you shouldn't call it a mountain. I get you. Next, we want to talk about the Citrus Grove development, which is coming just west of Turnpike at Citrus Grove Road. This will be a mixed-use traditional neighborhood. It will include 296 single-family homes, 171 townhomes, and over 1,000 condos and apartments. But beyond that, it will also feature 458,000 square feet of commercial space, an 800 student charter school, and there's even a church planned for this area. And the cool thing about this is that Clermont and Minneola is kind of low density. It's got massive growth, but there's still a lot of open spaces and things of that nature. You have to have a car to live here. But a community like this, mixed with some walkability to local shops and stores, things of that nature, gives a different sustainable community feel, which is kind of groundbreaking for this area. There's not a lot of it. As well and important to the area, Advent Health is still continuing construction on Minneola Hospital. This is a new 4-story facility covering around 204,000 square feet and is set to become a viable healthcare hub for the area. And obviously, as we know, Clermont, Minneola also attracts a lot of folks in retirement. So healthcare demand for this area, beautiful world-class facilities right here is super important. Hey, it's me interrupting myself. You considering selling your home? Make one call, that's all, and put my nearly 23 years of experience and nearly 4,000 homes sold to work for you.
Jared Jones is the way to go. Call 706-5000.
All right, before I take you into a few key graphs, I'm going to show you some specific segments where some incredible changes are occurring, things you need to plan for if you own here, you're looking to buy here. But let's take a quick overview. This, as you can see right here down the left side of the chart, is many different things like closed sales, how much inventory against prior year. It's very important when you start to see massive shifts in certain areas to pay close attention to what's happening in the marketplace. Closed sales up 6%. That's a good sign. A lot of markets are not trending over last year when it comes to how many homes they're selling. Cash sales were double this year against last year. Median sale price up 18% year over year. We're going to take a closer look at that. Dollar volume up 17%. And I may not show this chart later on, so I got to tell you, dollar volume is the aggregate of all the homes sold in the particular area, right? So it's like millions of dollars, whatever sold, added together. You got to understand, a lot of the Orlando markets are struggling to get over last year. Think of it like GDP. If you have all these homes selling, if you're selling more, you've heard me say this before if you watch consistently all the markets I cover, dollar volume being up means you're positive, it's pro-growth. If it's going negative, it's a recessionary sign. Okay, so let's move on. All right, everybody, just so you can understand what I'm looking at, this is 34715. This is the main zip code for Minneola. And on the left side of the graph of this chart, which is active inventory, shows you how many homes we have now on the market versus way back here in 2018, 2019, area we like to call pre-pandemic times, before the market all got screwy and obviously random things happened, which happen once in 15 or 20 years. Here's the deal, and something you understand. The household population, the amount of homes that you can actually sell in this area are dramatically higher on this side of the chart. So even though they are, yes, elevated, they're elevated to any point of which you can see on this graph going back to 2018. You have to understand there's just a lot more homes to sell. There's more environment of people moving in and out. But look at this. You have 110 homes on the market. That's the highest point at any year. It is 70%. It was actually back in July, middle of moving season. It was an 80% jump over prior year. So there is a lot more supply even back 15 months or so on this chart. You can see there's just been a steady, unabating change. If you watch these data videos that I do, you know I try to figure out why that is the case. Is it a suffering to find buyers? The buyers are pulling back and all of a sudden there's a lot of homes for sale? Or is it just buyers are steady as they've been for a year and a half? Or is it sellers moving a whole lot of inventory in the market? Let's check it out. Now, the next chart I want to look at is called new pending sales. The reason I like new pending sales, we have two graphs for this. We actually have one called pending sales, which is just the static homes under contract. I don't like that one because it's a running total of just homes sitting under contract. And that when there's new construction, like Minneola has a lot of new construction. If I show you that chart, there's this whole bunch of homes sitting under contract. And you're like, wow, that's great. But that doesn't mean you're actually putting them down under contract every single month. This shows you the live feed, like how many homes are going under contract. Last month, there was nearly 30% more contracts than a year ago. Great sign. This is unusually high for the rest of the market. You can see that in August, they were actually down 8%. They were trailing the prior year, and then they were nearly flat in July, up 94% in June, up 115% in May. So, Jared, what's the verdict? Are the buyers quitting in Minneola? Not at all. This is actually very good buyer demand. And this, again, is most likely the fact that you're having a consistent new supply chain. There's a lot of growth in this area. A lot of people are coming to this area. They're moving into Florida. This is a relocator's haven right now, okay? So people are just coming to town. The schools are pretty good for the area. So not a lot not to like. And it's not, completely so popularized and priced completely to the moon that people largely can't afford it. So you still have good buyer demand here. All right, the next chart I want to show you is new listings. This is the rate of how many sellers have been bringing homes to the market. And you can see by just the visual on the chart that new listings have been well up this year. Most months are 20 to 30% higher, and that's created the growing unsold inventory that we have just seen. So essentially, buyers have been pretty steady. They've been available, but you have just seen a consistent move of big numbers over prior year in terms of active inventory, and buyer demand isn't jumping enough to meet it. And so essentially you have a decent amount of unsold inventory in the market right now. Now let's take a look at dollar volume. This is a look at all the sales in Minneola as just imagine it's an economy of its own. And just like GDP measures recession, if it's negative to last year, or if it's above last year, which most markets in terms of just general real estate analytics, if you look month after month, marketplaces are usually positive or very close to even to last year, month after month, when you're looking at the seasonality and how much they're selling. But look at this. You've got an up month, 17%, down 16% last month, down 6.3 the month before that, down 12 before that, down 8 before that, down 28. And ultimately, why is dollar volume down? Dollar volume is either down because you're not selling enough homes or you're selling homes at lower prices. Either way, this is a running string of negatives over the past year in the Minneola market. Interesting trend. So that's going to tell us what? Maybe those that are in the higher price points might struggle to get out of the market. You never know. And it also could be the fact that you just have your closings are off. You're just not closing enough sales to keep your dollar volume up. So why don't we look at that right now? And here you go. There's a positive 6% in the most recent month, but you can see that closed sales are down nearly every month this year. And that's really a problem for the active inventory. That's become the real issue. If you don't close homes, you have homes sitting around the market, then ultimately you're going to have stagnancy, price cuts will come, things of that nature. The market dynamic is definitely shifting here, even though it seems like you've got a steady amount of buyers. There's clearly been, for whatever reason, even though last year was kind of safe, kind of tame in terms of how many sellers said, oh, I'm going to put my house on the market, shifting a little bit in 2024. This next chart is one of my favorite indicators, months of supply. Months of supply is if you stop listing all homes in Minneola, how long would it take you to sell them off? Gives us a number like 3 months of supply, 5 months of supply. The higher this number goes, the more ominous it becomes for home sellers. You do not want to see this number high. It is the worst signal for your economy. As you can see, it's climbing, okay? And it's climbing higher most recently than it has been going all the way back to 2018. This is what will create a feel of a slower market. It will create a feel, a vibe, like, wow, I see more signs. There's more homes out there. That tends to be the nature of a graph like this that has been climbing really unabated except for this most recent month. Okay, we'll have to see how this goes. Okay, why did it drop, Jared? I thought you said sales have been pitiful lately. Well, we had a decent closing month this past month. It dented it. Maybe you had sellers pull homes off the market. That's the other thing too. In an environment like this where your active inventory is shooting up, something that I don't ever report on, and maybe I'm going to start, is the percentage of withdrawn and canceled listings. People quit. Like tons of people aren't successful in the market like this when it shoots up. And the only thing keeping those numbers kind of in balance, where like the unsold inventory isn't shooting off the chart, is that people are bailing. They're like, I'm done. I put it on the market. I tried. And you're seeing a lot of that. You're seeing a lot of that in all the Central Florida markets, which tells you what? Some sellers are not committed to selling. Okay. Some will sell at whatever price they've got to get out, and some won't. Some are testing. Okay. And buyers in this market, this is what sellers don't understand. Sellers that put themselves out, go through the trouble of setting their home up and put it on the market. They don't understand that buyers are now being very cautious. They're seeing the price of homes is kind of, it's not shooting up, it's stabilizing. So buyers are consciously paying attention and saying, where's the market right here? Everybody's asking 480 to 550, but then the ones that are selling, they've been coming down to 450, 440, and everybody else is just sitting and aging or pulling their homes off the market. So essentially, like, what does that tell us? There's probably a percentage of all the actives that are sellable homes. There's not, all of those aren't sellable homes. And we know that because I would venture a guess that right now our expired withdrawn categories are off the charts deep, okay? By the way, let's get back to this graph we're looking at. 2.8 months of supply. It was 3 months before that. 3 months. Listen, the entire economy of Orlando and the entire nation is 3.6, 3.8, pushing 4 months of supply. You got short-term rental markets down in the Davenport area that are at 10 months of supply. Kissimmee, 3, 4, 7, 4, 7. This is hot still. I mean, relatively hot compared to how much time someone else has to plan to be on the market. Now, it could be only stable based on some of the things I just told you. That the quits might be high, In a real market turnover, you got to sell a house, and a lot of people at the same time decide they have to sell a house. All these equations could flip, okay? And again, I'm not trying to panic anyone. I'm just trying to give you kind of both sides of how this works. Recession getting worse is what really changes this. But I'm going to tell you that when you're looking at a graph, this looks on a graph like, whoa, look how bad that is. This is such shallow water. Under 3 months of supply, it's shallow water. It's not a big deal. All right, the next chart we're going to look at is price cuts. Price cuts are a great indication to show that buyers are getting more control in the marketplace. Now, right now, price cuts are over 1 in 5 listings in this marketplace have a price cut. There's 193 active listings. This data, by the way, is separate. This is a different charting system that I have. This is pulling a larger base. This will include some new construction in this data. And as you can see, as a point of comparison, here's Montverde. Montverde is a little lower at 21% in price cuts. Look at Clermont proper, 34711, 30% price cuts. Groveland, 35.6%. I should do an update on Groveland soon. That's over 1 in 3 listings in Groveland are price cutting. That is usually a sign there's a good buyer advantage in the market. Obviously, you can see 22%. I would say it's probably elevated in the history of this market, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see how it goes. By the way, to the north, Ostatula, Howie in the Hills, 36.3%. So also elevated similarly to Groveland here in this tiny little north market. All right, next chart I want to show you is median list price year over year. This is an important data point if you're a home seller right now. This is also valuable for the buyers, and let me show you what it means. This line right here, it's very light and dotted, and we're looking at a chart goes back from 2017. You will notice, you see how long this chart is? Years and years and years. Look at, it's below zero, okay? Which means this is uncommon for this market to run a trend where prices of homes that the seller is bringing to the market is actually lower than the prior year, okay? Very important leading indicator. Why is it important? Because this tells us the psychology of the marketplace in real time. This is homes that have started into the market for this month, but we do not have the final result. And they're already starting them beneath last year. That means that if they're starting the price negative to last year, do they get full asking price or do they negotiate? Statistics say they negotiate 3 to 4% even less off of this price. But you also have to understand this is showing -2+% under, and that is an aggregate of all the listings for 1 month. You understand there's a lot of listings that have been there in prior months where they didn't drop that much. So you have what is the starting symptom of possibly a stabilizing price in this particular market. It's great news for buyers, but what do we read from it? We read from it that if I'm in 34715, I'm getting ready to sell my house. I look at the landscape of all the homes. I call the broker over my house. We look around and we say, oh man, there's competition. Look at this. This is what the competition's asking. And remember, you have to take in mind that right now, a lot of these listings, a lot of this active supply isn't really for sale. Okay, it's not really for sale. And buyers are getting a feel for this. You know, buyers are not being tricked. And the reason why is because when the marketplace, like it is now, has a very stable price for long periods of time. So if you look at a chart in most any of these marketplaces and Orlando as a whole, 2 years running now, you got a very flat line. What that does when you have flat price-ish, you know, very tiny incremental growth or near flat, and you have growing amount of choice, buyers slow down. They don't have to go fast. They have no FOMO, fear of missing out. Do I pay more? Will I pay more in 3 months if I look for a little? Buyers are looking around and they're getting a feel for what is actually contracting and selling right now. They're not rushing. So when that emotional psychology bit drops a little bit, and this is where, you know, as you're buying a home right now and you have an agent that is a jerk, pushy, and again, you do not need to look at 15 or 30 houses to figure things out. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm not saying you can't. But I'm saying most people who know what they want with the tools that we have, and if your agent is showing you, okay, you have 30 homes, but only 10 of them are really sellable, you really probably aren't going to look at 20 that are overpriced, that are never going to sell to you at a fair price. Okay, so my point is the real true market size is not all the homes you see. And there's a kind of a process here where in the next 2 months, buyers that have been taking their time, the chips are in their corner. I think just briefly, I don't think that the marketplace going into February and March 2025, I think by mid-February, it's going to shift back neutral. I think it's a little bit buyer favored, but I think it's temporary. And I think when it goes neutral, both sides are kind of on even playing field. Sellers don't have any tremendous upside. Buyers don't have any tremendous upside on the seller. It's kind of like if my home is priced fairly and the buyers are going to come into the market, they're going to see the ones that are priced fairly. That's what sellers don't understand. Sellers that still want to do pie in the sky price whenever, 25% of the market's price reducing. Whenever you have statistical show, the sellers are concerned about the lack of demand in the market and the noticeable reducing prices of homes coming to the market. It's a sign they're looking around. They're seeing their neighbors for sale. They're seeing stuff sitting. They're seeing homes fail to sell. That's the other thing too, is high expired, high cancellations, high quits is happening. The people don't understand this. Our buyers pay close attention. There is a high quit percentage in all these markets. There just is. It's crazy. You will look and see in some of these areas, and you pull a neighborhood, there will be more quits than solds. They're like, and it's a visual thing. Like when I take my buyers through it, I show them, like, look at all these blue tags and look at these few red tags. Reds are the ones that sold. Blues are the quits, and their blues are everywhere, which shows you don't want to pay a price that the blue ones were set at, because the quits mean they were overpriced. So essentially, the buyers are reading the market, and they come in the market and they go, oh, this market is where I want to be. Well, these are all asking $650. Well, the ones that are pending and sold are at $575 and $565 and $550. And I really like this house. It's at $625. You know you have negotiation to do, because you need to pay close attention to what's active, what's failing to sell and quitting, and what's sold. And this is what buyers are paying attention to. And right now, again, look at the rarity of this, because look at this. You have this zero line. It's very uncommon for sellers bringing homes to the market, actually bring them beneath zero. Again, buyers, listen, buyers, fair price is what you're after, because you're not going to like strip someone's home for them at 100,000 below. Like, the market's not, this is not a desperate market. Even with the fake sellers, I say fake sellers, I don't mean to intimidate or I don't mean to offend anybody, but I'm saying people that they'll only sell if they hit X number. I won't sell otherwise. And that number won't be hit, but they're sitting out there anyways. You guys understand what I'm saying? That is a waste of time in your energy as a buyer to invest in looking at that stuff. So I'm saying, look at as many homes as you want, but there's a segment of them that are actually truly for sale. And this shows us the sellers, at least a segment of them, know this to be true. Okay. And I'm telling you, next 60 days, buyers have some great opportunities in this particular market. Again, you're not going to steal it, but I will tell you, you will find some that are very, very well priced, that when the market gains a little bit of tension going in the spring, that price will rise above what you can set a mark at in the next couple of months. So you could set a good number and then watch some of the spring sales. Most likely, so this is my opinion, I have no crystal ball, most likely be a little higher than what you're going to pay in the months ahead of us. If you're in the Central Florida area and you're looking for a great church, I'd love for you to join me at the Grove Bible Chapel. Just visit joinmeatthegrove.com for full details. When life changes and it's time to move, the process can feel stressful and overwhelming. You need a real estate professional who can make it smooth and simple. That's why you need to make one call, that's all, put my 23 years of experience and nearly 4,000 satisfied homes sold to work for you.
Jared Jones is the way to go. Call 706-5000.